Another episode of Mad About Markets, another big topic that we're going to talk about, which has mad potential. Ritu, what is this?
Well, it's something that clearly hasn't been affected by everything that's going on around us, whether it's the talks of recession, the after effects of the pandemic, high inflation, you name it. This is one segment that has continued to grow.
Recession-proof. That's the luxury market in India, because or the world.
Rather.
Luxury cars, luxury goods, luxury flats, everything
and
selling. Experiences. But, you know, on that note, what luxury do you think you would want the most?
Definitely time, because, you know, if I have time, I probably can afford a lot more of these, do more things, have more time at hand, and that's something that we really can't control, so that's the one I'd pick.
How poetic. This is what people say, and they don't have a lot of money. I'll tell you what, you know...
money can't buy everything.
Well, it can't. So let's talk about the money itself. How big is the market according to you?
Well, it's large, and not according to me. We're looking at some of the estimates globally, almost at 1.46 trillion euros. That is the size we're talking about, which translates to about $1.6 trillion as of 2022. Now, largely is divided into 9 segments, which includes your luxury goods as well as experiences. But between cars, hospitality and personal goods, that's almost 80% of the world's luxury market. And then you have smaller segments like your fine wines, gourmet food, homeware, fine art, private jets and so on, which consolidates this entire, you know, large section that we're talking about.
So how many private jets do you own?
None. Like I said, I need more time.
All right. But, you know, that's the global market that we're talking about, what, $1.6 trillion. India, however, is a relatively smaller part of the overall market. As of 2021, it was just $6 billion. That's not the exciting fact. Here on Mad About Markets, we talk about what's the future and the potential out there. So out there, you know, 2 years from there, 2023 end, Euromonitor expects a 40% growth over that $6 billion base, going all the way up to $8.5 billion. This, as astonishing as it may be, is not even an iota of what the potential holds. As per Bain, in 2030, the luxury market of India could be as big as $200 billion, which is more than the GDP of most countries.
It is, and that number is mind-boggling in the kind of growth that we're, you know, expecting in that segment. But of course, these are various estimates. If you look at different data points, you'll find different numbers. But what's really driving this growth, especially in a country like India, it's the number of ultra-high rich individuals and families, because India has steadily been adding in more and more people to this billionaire club. What was 102 in 2019 is now a family of 169 billionaires in India. That's a huge growth, despite everything, like we said, that's happening economically. 140
crore Indians and 140 Indian billionaires. So that means when they say karodo mein ek, that's what they mean, right?
Quite literally.
But globally, how's it?
You know, the collective net worth of about $675 billion, that is the size for India, because it is now home to the third highest number of billionaires in the world, 169 as of 2022. But if you look at some of the other countries, now America, for instance, they have 735 billionaires. The second highest is China, 495, also big spenders in the luxury market. And the third place, of course, is where India is at. Germany, 126 billionaires. Russia at the 5th position with 105 billionaires. But in total, we're talking about 2,600 billionaires on this globe now, which account for $12 trillion of wealth, a lot of which is being spent on the luxury market.
None of them, I promise, are related to me, and I don't belong to any of those numbers as well. Let's hope at some point.
If only you had more time.
If only I had more time. But, you know, it's the aspiration that we're talking about, the growing population and the income rise, but more importantly, growing aspirations of average, common people, everyone actually, including you and me, wanting a better life. Millennials, Gen Z, the output of brand collaborations between high-end luxury names and volume retailers. All of these are among the factors behind the growth of this industry in India. Everyone wants a slice of the good life.
And let's bring in the guest to tell us about what exactly customers are demanding. So let us invite our guest, Sathyajit Radhakrishnan, who is the CEO of Luxury Division of Aditya Birla Fashion Retail. He joins us. So does Navjit Ahluwalia, who's the Senior Vice President and Country Head at Hilton Hotel. Also with us is Sharad Agarwal, who's the Head of Lamborghini India, joins us on the show as well. Gentlemen, a very warm welcome to Mad About Markets. Mr. Radhakrishnan, let me start with you. How does India measure against China? Like we've been talking about, it accounts for almost a third of the spending. India, in comparison, is much lower. But, you know, do you see the potential for growth there?
The Indian luxury market is estimated at about $8.1 billion. But that's a mix across all categories, including fine dining, automobiles, hospitality, as well as real estate to a certain extent. And the fashion retail, or the luxury fashion retail and accessory bit of it is, I would say, roughly about 50 to 20% of that market. Now, that market is going to grow at about a CAGR of anywhere between 20 to 25% over the next decade. And we believe that with the increase in high net worth individuals that India is witnessing, moving from close to about 112,000 high net worth families to maybe 350, 360,000 high net worth families over the next 5 years, we believe that the market will significantly grow towards being a $20 billion business. A lot of it being driven by luxury accessories, beauty, designer wear, and sunglasses. And we can expect that to be close to about 20-25% of the market at that point in time.
25% of the market likely to be fashion accessories and fashion apparel, etc. That's telling data. But you know what people love about India, while US, Europe and China are among the largest luxury markets, the potential of India is what is catching the eyes of the biggest names in luxury.
Also because some of the entry barriers that existed back in the day, they're sort of coming down. So now we're seeing more and more brands come to India.
And because of the internet, everyone's being aware of made aware brands. Of all those brands as well. I mean, you know, Gucci, Bottega Veneta, Burberry, all have arrived, and that's not all. We have Valentino and Balenciaga as well. The latest in this list have both partnered with Reliance brands to enter India. In fact, Reliance brands portfolio has some of the top luxury brands and the fashion designers in the country. You name it, from Armani to Versace to Manish Malhotra and Tiffany and Co as well.
And you know, the biggest talking point, of course, recently in the Mumbai fashion scene has been the Dior fashion show. I mean, that marks a coming of age of India's luxury market, if nothing else.
That one, and the fact that Indians are being invited to global fashion houses and
you have Sabyasachi opening up in New York and whatnot.
And the Indian influencers being taken to Seoul for a Louis Vuitton store opening as well. And Deepika Padukone, of course, being the brand ambassador of Louis Vuitton. But Reliance is not the only one. You have Aditya Birla Fashion Retail, which has partnered with Galeries Lafayette, which is a Parisian brand, bringing about 200 luxury and designer brands in a massive flagship store of 90,000 square feet in Mumbai. That's Mumbai real estate that we're talking about. And that happens in 2024. Another 65,000 square feet store in Delhi by 2025. That's not the only brand. They also have Sabyasachi and a bunch of others.
Yeah, they have Masaba, they have Tarun Tahiliani, and they're just adding to that, you know, every day. So the plan is to expand that portfolio, and we'll talk to Aditya Birla about that. But, you know, the other segment we haven't really spoken about is the luxury watch segment. Mangalam is wearing one of those, but, you know, the market has really soared in the last few years because the export of Swiss watches, which is a quintessential status symbol, that has nearly doubled from 2020 to now 2022. So last year, India ranked 23rd in terms of Swiss watch exports to other countries, with sales of about 1722 crores, and that was a growth rate of about 20% from the year before. Now, multi-brand luxury watch retailer Ethos, for instance, their revenue for FY23 rose by 37% to 918 crores. So the growth has been steady, and it's only been picking up after the pandemic.
Yes, and the only luxury watch that I've worn over the last 5 years is an Apple Watch, which I don't consider luxury. But a lot of data points do indicate that had you invested in a Rolex some 6 years ago, the returns that you would get in terms of price appreciation would be a lot more than all the other asset classes. So watches are actually becoming an investment item as well.
Fund managers better take note.
Yes, they should. And you know, let's go across to Mr. Radhakrishnan once again to talk about the opportunity in the Indian luxury market. You know, Mr. Radhakrishnan, globally few companies own this space, and in India as well, it's just two players. We have ABFRL and Reliance, as we were just discussing. So how do you expand this space? And because of a large player, do you have to overpay for the brands that you partner with?
I think India is the next big market that most luxury brands are looking at today. And that is evidenced by the fact that whenever we speak to anybody to look at them entering the Indian market, we no longer have to tell them how large the market is or why the market is ready. I think it is evidenced by the fact that Indian consumers abroad are becoming a larger and larger part of the consumption circle there. And therefore, between consumption centers such as Paris or Milan or London or New York and travel retail, Indians are becoming a larger and larger chunk of the business abroad. And therefore, everybody believes that the time is right for India to take its stage in the luxury space.
Well, we've spoken a lot about the luxury retail fashion segment, but another huge driver of the luxury market has been the hospitality segment. Not just the high disposable incomes, you also have the big fat wedding industry that is fueling the growth of luxury hotels in India. And just last month, you had 3 international hotel chains announcing the debut of their luxury brands in this country. So Hilton's Waldorf Astoria and Minor Hotels Anantara brands are set to mark their India debut in Jaipur, while Radisson has picked Hyderabad for the launch of its Radisson Collection brand. You have Accor's luxury brand Fairmont Hotels, which is going to launch properties across India in the next 2 years. Marriott also plans to increase the share of luxury brands in India from about 35% to about 35% from 20% currently. And of course, we have our very own Taj Hotels, which has 17 luxury hotels in the pipeline.
And let's once again also plug Mad About Markets, because we have done the opportunity that exists in India's hospitality market and the big fat wedding market as well.
Indeed, we have, yeah.
We have. And the wedding market, you know, it is really big, because Marriott recently had an entire campaign called Shadi by Marriott to, invite people to have weddings or host their weddings in
for
their
a very
properties.
Specific clientele.
For very specific clients, because they had Karan Johar, Tiger Shroff, all those guys, Shamak Dawar, you name it. But that's hospitality. How about people staying in houses, luxury housing units? A record 65,700 of those were sold in 2022. That's 3 times the previous year, thanks to rising disposable incomes, a surge in demand after the COVID-19 pandemic, which left many people feeling a strong sense of home ownership and a desire to have a larger square footage for work, education requirements, and also some regulatory, benefits led to a big surge in the last quarter of FY23. See a big surge in luxury houses. In fact, we recently saw how DLF sold an upmarket residential project with home units priced starting 7 crore each in under 72 hours. That's all it took, 72 hours, for over 3,000 applications for 1,137 units priced at 7 crores per unit, selling like hot cakes or big flats. What do you say, Ritu?
And just starting price is 7 crores, by the way, and more than double the applications that they received, sold out in 3 days. I mean, that's the kind of demand we're talking about. Hot cakes, I don't know if that describes it. But Mr. Ahluwalia, let's come to you, because we're talking about the hospitality segment, and Hilton has announced some of its luxury brands here in India. Post-pandemic, tell us how the industry is fared and what are the trends that you're seeing in the luxury segment. We spoke about weddings being one of the big drivers.
I think that COVID has been a real game changer for many things. So I think, number one, at least in the luxury segment, those people really were not impacted. Their livelihood was not impacted. In fact, I think the rich benefited greatly in their businesses and took advantage, I think, of that, of what was happening in the world. And they definitely wanted to travel. And one great trend that emerged from COVID was domestic, because you couldn't get out of the country. So domestic tourism and domestic leisure travel took a great fillip.
All right, Mr. Ahluwalia, what are the properties that you have in the pipeline for India, and how many of these are in the luxury segment? I presume a large part.
Yeah, so we currently are represented in India with 24 properties across 5 brands, out of which, as I mentioned, 2 of them are Conrads, which are in the luxury sector. We have 12 under construction at the moment that will open by 2025, and we have expressed our plan to double our portfolio, or roughly have around 75 hotels by 2025. Now, out of these, at the moment, we don't have any Conrads or other Waldorf Astorias, apart from the ones that we have already announced. But I believe that we are in discussions with a number of people, and we hope to conclude and find more partners in that space.
Well, we've spoken about clothes, we've spoken about luxury, accessories, watches, homes and hotels. Cars, that's a big market as well. In fact, India saw sales of about 38,000 luxury cars in last year. And these are primary sales, so secondary, second-hand luxury cars selling a lot more. In fact, big brands, Lamborghini, Porsche, we had Mercedes-Benz, Lexus, all of them announcing record sales for 2022. What's more, they anticipate that these record numbers will keep growing to a point where someone like Lexus believes that India will become its biggest market in Asia Pacific, excluding Japan and China, by 2025, not too far. And Lamborghini has already sold out in India for 2023. So in case you wish to buy one, either buy it in the secondary market
Or expect it next year.
all right, 2024. Whether I get it or not, I'm not buying it. Ritu may. But Mr. Agarwal is with us from Lamborghini. What sort of trends, Mr. Agarwal, have you seen in the luxury car market? What's so unique about India right now? And when can Ritu get her Lamborghini?
If you look at the super luxury space or the luxury space in this country, it has not reflected the true potential of the market in the last decade. You know, the demand in the initial part of the decade was largely limited to metros, and also it was the third and fourth generation business entrepreneurs who were buying in car. But if you look at the last 3 to 5 years, we are witnessing some very interesting trends in India. For example, we are seeing lot more people coming from tier 1, tier 2 cities and buying Lamborghinis. So today you can see a Lamborghini in a smaller city like Udupi or Salem or Trichy or Madurai, and it is not restricted only to metros, and it is clearly demonstrating that the wealth in this country is spread across the length and breadth of the country. Also, what we were witnessing that earlier it was largely third and fourth generation business entrepreneurs buying our cars, and now we are seeing more and more first generation business entrepreneurs, people from the startup ecosystem or the women entrepreneurs. They are coming and buying luxury cars and also Lamborghinis. So there is a clear shift in terms of both geography as well as demography in this country, and this is clearly demonstrating to us that how luxury has a potential for the time to come, and we always believe that India has an incredible opportunity to grow for our business in this country.
All right, we're talking about the opportunity here, but it can't be as hunky-dory as well. There have to be some challenges too. You know, for luxury retail, perhaps real estate could pose as one of the other challenges. But let's go across to Mr. Ahluwalia. You know, what are the challenges that you see in terms of growth for the segment?
So I think the challenges in India for hotel development have always been around the price of land, the period it takes to get permissions to be able to construct something. So very few people have the energy and the resources to take over a greenfield project, because it can take 3, 4, 5 or even longer time frames to develop a hotel. I think that challenge, and of course the difference in financing, because you don't have long-term financing available in India, which is like a 20-year or 30-year mortgage. So you have very short-term mortgages, which are in the region of 10 to 15 years, and these the cost of building a luxury hotel is not very different from what it would cost to build a luxury hotel anywhere in the world. And we still, I think, from a rate perspective, we have some catch-up to do. I think luxury hotel rates in India are still much lower than anywhere else in the world. I mean, you would pay in Europe, over 1,000 euros a night in any location, which in India we are not getting there at the moment.
But let's get back to the cars also, because duties, etc., have been cited as some of the big challenges for the growth of the luxury car segment in India. But Mr. Agarwal, why do you think India is lagging compared to some of the other large spender markets? Is it taxation alone?
Taxation is one challenge, yes, you can say, but we are always representing it as a challenge when we see a frequent change. But if there is a consistent taxation policy, it is fine for the segment, because we also see other countries like China where the taxes are high, but there the segment is pretty big. I think the other challenges which the industry has is in terms of the infrastructure, roads, where people can drive and enjoy their cars. We are seeing a positive trend there. Or the stability of the currency, because most of these cars are imported into the market, and this can have an impact on the pricing. The fourth variable can be in terms of how the country is growing, how the wealth is getting created in the market, and India is showing a positive trend there. And another most important factor is how people perceive luxury. Traditionally, India has been a conservative market when it comes to luxury buying, and it's not considered or perceived very positively. But this culture is also changing in recent years, where we are seeing a lot more people are coming and they want to live their life and reward them with the dreams and aspirations. So these are the 5 key factors maybe impacting the segment, and we are seeing a positive trend in India on all of them.
Well, the other reason, I guess, why people wouldn't buy a lot of luxury cars, the quality of roads. That is one big challenge.
Or the traffic. If you want to drive in a city like Bombay, I mean, what is the point of having that fancy luxury car when you can only speed at, what, 20 kmph?
6, 7 if you're driving in Lower Parel, that is. But
well, challenges do abound, and we're going to talk about what works and doesn't work for the luxury segment, but we had to take a short break. We're going to be right back with that and the bigger question.
The bigger question, because, the rise of the conscious consumer, will it impact the luxury market? And luxury itself, will that become a luxury?
Welcome back. You're watching Mad About Markets, and we've been discussing the boom of the luxury market in India, and it's that time of the show where we talk about what works, what doesn't work, the yays and the mays.
The yays, let's talk about that. India is a consumption-driven economy, and luxury accounts for a large part of that because of the value addition that it can bring.
Sure.
And if you are, believing that the Indian economy will grow via consumption, luxury is definitely the way to go.
Well, it is the way to go. There are other problems, though, that the industry has to deal with. For instance, rising counterfeits, especially when it comes to luxury goods. That's a huge problem for the industry.
Yeah, but owning luxury goods, what it basically does is seen as a status symbol. The rich people do that. And as a result of which, everyone tries to emulate that. The aspirational part of the society.
And that boosts confidence.
Boosts confidence, boosts the economy, and boosts the overall quality.
And spending, of course. But, growth and demand for luxury goods and services, it can worsen income inequality, especially for a country like India, where just the top 1% or 0.5% are benefiting.
And a lot of people who try to emulate them spend a little more beyond their means. I take that point, but what it also does is provides a lot of the other domestic players an opportunity to provide the same quality or similar quality of service and product to
perhaps at better prices.
At better prices, and that again is a boost to the economy.
Yeah, and that can also lead to greater innovation. But these kind of activities, especially in the goods again, can have a significant impact on the environment, particularly when it comes to production and disposal stages. So what it does in terms of contributing to the carbon footprint, climate change issues, especially with the rise of the conscious consumer, that's something that the industry really needs to keep in mind.
They do, and the other thing is that a lot of materialism, a lot of people spending a lot, showing off their wealth is not seen as great value. So that change in values is something we'll have to grapple with too.
Well, that sums up the yays and mays of the industry, and that brings us to the bigger question.
The bigger question it is. So the bigger question is, will luxury be a luxury itself with the rise of the conscious consumer and the maze that we just discussed? Mr. Radhakrishnan is still with us. Mr. Radhakrishnan, that question to you.
Different brands are reacting to it in different manners. There have been brands which have, for example, stopped using fur completely in their lines. There are brands and houses which have embraced sustainability as a way of life. And that is taking on greater and greater shape as they work more and more with craftsmen, both here as well as abroad. And globally, the ateliers themselves are becoming more and more conscious about the need to build sustainability as a fabric of their business. As the customer gets more conscious about sustainability, and the backstory of the brand becomes very important. And let's look at it the other way around, is that the luxury purchases that one makes you're not making that purchase like you would for everyday use, right? So you're already thinking about it, you're very conscious about what you're spending, and you are making a very, very well thought through choice in terms of the product and the brand that you're purchasing. So I don't see that being a cap on luxury purchase.
And, Navjit Ahluwalia, what is your sense? I mean, how is luxury going to evolve, with the changing consumer preferences?
I think, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think I do agree with the fact that the consumer and the guest today is very conscious of the environment and is very conscious of what he's doing. So sustainable luxury that's around experiences as opposed to products, and something that allows the consumer to build memories with close friends and family, and is very immersive and experiential. That's going to be the trend today, and I think that we are finding that products are also leaning towards that are really eco-sensitive, that are giving this slow, immersive, very unique bespoke experiences, and that's what the consumer is looking for. And I think that with the aspiration of India's youth and the rise of really the buying power in India, we're going to see a big trend. This is going to really increase significantly over the next decade or so.
All right, Navjit, thank you for joining in. In fact, on that note, we'll thank all the gentlemen for joining in and enriching us with their insight on India's luxury market. With that, we're out of time on this edition of Mad About Markets. Stay luxurious.